Okay, you see it?
All right, I think we're live. How exciting. Joseph, can you hear me? Testing,
Yeah, I can hear
testing.
you.
Okay. There's a little bit of a
I,
delay, but I think we got you. Are you on that same connection that you used yesterday when you switched it over? Because you're glitching out a little bit for me. Welcome everybody. If you can hear me, then we are testing right now. We're playing with this new StreamYard, so this is exciting. I'll share my screen. We're just doing some tech testing here first. Let's see if this works. And then, oh, there we go. So we can do all sorts of things with this. All right. So Joseph and I tested this yesterday. Joseph, you're coming in a little bit glitchy for me. I don't know if Larry Hoffman is first in our chat. I see you, Larry. Let me know if I'm coming in clear, if Joseph's coming in clear, if there's any issues that as our first guest, if you can see anything, just give us the thumbs up. Joseph, why don't you go ahead and say something? Joseph, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. And why don't you, let's see how you're coming in. Give us a little testing, one, two, three.
Hi, how are you? This is Joseph Perla. We are going to talk about Mythos 5 and Fable 5 rollout and a bunch of other cool
Exciting.
stuff.
Yeah, it is a big day for news. And this is also a big day for us to do our first, jump on our live stream. I see a little spinning circle for Joseph, but I see him also joining as another screen. So I'm just going to let him do his technical stuff here. He's the StreamYard whiz. Um, but this is very exciting. So basically, guys, Joseph and I, we'll give ourselves a little intro in a second, but I think that, probably met 15 years ago, and we went to Burning Man, lots of fun times together. We were part of a great group called the Phage, um, bringing science to the playa, talks and tech, in the middle of Burning Man. It was incredibly fun, and recently reconnected and just started talking about a lot of the stuff that's going on with AI, and in particular, a lot of excitement around agentic AI and the use cases and the developments, which are just coming so fast that this is an opportunity for. We had a great talk. We're like, oh, Joseph's like, we might as well live stream this because we had such a great 1 hour talk. So that's gonna be the thing. So and we'll talk a little bit about what we want to do, but it's very much a flexible beginning. But I thought maybe what we could do first, Joseph, is you want to do a little intro to who you are, what your background is, what brings you to this, and then I'll do the same, and then we can hop right in.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I've been in Silicon Valley for 20 years, been building startups. I was early at Facebook and Lyft, started a PhD in AI, and just sold my last company and oh, I can put on some headphones. Thanks for the heads up. Did you hear background noise from me, Doug?
I hear a
Dougie?
little bit.
Okay, my fan is going off right now because of the video, so
The fan on the computer.
yeah, freaking out. That should be a little better. Do you hear me? Is that better? Oh, that's good to
Yeah,
know.
sounds good.
You know what? Okay, I turned it on. Is that
Say something. That is not as good, actually. And now there's a little bit of freeze up happening. Maybe the background noise without the headphones is better. While Joseph's getting that together, then I will do my intro, and then we'll circle back to you, Joseph. But you're still stuck for me. So we're guys. Thanks everybody. We're working out our first time on StreamYard glitches. Oh, I see Joseph's back. Is your audio
yeah?
back?
I'm on a Starlink, so maybe some meteors flying by or something.
All right. Good. Why don't you continue your intro then?
Okay.
Oh yeah, this Starlink is causing trouble. So funny. Just as I say, why don't you continue your intro? All right, I'm going, and every time then I say I'm going to do my intro, you're back. But let's see if you can continue your intro.
Okay, I'm switching to 5G. Maybe that's better.
Larry says tech entrepreneurs should have a better setup, man. Okay, so I'm going to actually do my intro. So while Joseph's doing the tech stuff over there. So guys, I come from actually more of a design and marketing background. I think Joseph really represents a lot of the real tech, that his technical background, bringing a lot of that. I come with a little bit more of some of just the applications for business, some of the things I've been using it for in our businesses, and also just a product design perspective. I'm so curious about the applications that we can use these tools for. A lot of people are playing with all these things coming out. They're getting distracted, they're going down rabbit holes. All that's great. We're leading with our curiosity and play, but also our time is limited, and we have to do our work. We want our lives to be made easier for this. There's a lot of like stress around the world of AI too, that with all of these new releases, it's moving so fast that even those of us who are staying up to date on it, and we're going to get into a little bit of the news later, can feel overwhelmed. So even for those folks that are just catching little glimpses, and those are the ones that aren't putting their heads in the sand, there's it can feel quite overwhelming. And so talking about applications is something very interesting, of interest for me. And so that's been a lot of what this last 6 months is. My background, like I say, a lot of branding, digital marketing, but applying that to all of my old business, as well as now working with companies trying to help them streamline their workflows. First, it was with low-code automations, and now doing lots of vibe coding, and now recently graduating into actually more agentic use cases. And we're going to even try to define what that even means, but using some fun new tools like OpenClaw. And if you don't know what that is, don't worry. It's going to be part of what we explore on here. So that, I think, is a good enough intro for me. You can connect with me on those links on the screen. So I'll hand it back to Joseph, and hopefully you can finish your intro without any more sound glitches.
Okay, how do I sound?
Sound good so far.
Good. All right, so voice isolation helped, 5G helped. Yeah, so I have a lot of experience with tech, and I've been doing these online live streams for a bit with my other friends, and I've interviewed a former head of marketing at TikTok, and that's all on my YouTube channel. I have 10,000 followers on Twitter, X, that you can follow me on at jperla. And yeah, excited to talk about AI stuff. There's always news every week, so I'm pretty excited to talk to everybody about that.
Totally. And I think that this is going to be a good opportunity to say we're going to start this WhatsApp group. We got a few people in there already. It's actually an old revived group that I sprung on people today. I'm like, hey guys, we're renaming this group the AI Agent Explorers, and we're going to have some people joining. So if you want to continue this conversation throughout the week, then you can go ahead and join on that. I thought would be really good to do first, and I got a couple of images of, because everyone's trying to figure out, Joseph, what the hell is an AI agent? We've gone from the idea of a chatbot, and you can probably even speak a little bit of, bringing us up to speed even before the 2022 when most people got familiar with AI. You are familiar with this a long time. So however you want to frame this, bring us up to speed a little bit, maybe. I got my ideas of what an AI agent is. People have their ideas. The companies are all figuring it out. And so let's just talk a little bit about what we feel is an AI agent and agentic AI, and maybe frame it for us a little bit.
Yeah, I think people have had a few different definitions for what an agent is in the last year.
Yeah.
Some people were thinking of it as just that was in Claude code, an agent that is running as like a daemon. I think another set of people were thinking of agent as something that used tools, like any kind of tool use AI. I think now we've kind of finalized on an agent as something like OpenClaw or Hermes, and that it does things for you while you're sleeping, and it just kind of keeps running.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting way to consider it. So I've come from this, like I said, background of digital marketing. And when I started getting into AI, I was already really good at low code automations, tools like Zapier, make.com. And once AI came about and we could plug in AI into these workflows, if you don't know what Zapier or Make are, they're like the duct tape of the internet, they call them, because they connect systems. But for low code folks, they're really useful. Proper developers would always probably look down on them. They're like, let's just do that in code. But for people that just need to string together, like if someone answers this form, then add them to my ClickUp. Or, if someone gets moved in a Trello board, then send me an email. These very simple workflows have been around for 20 years. Some of the earliest tools on the internet were these kind of automation tools, but now AI can be put into them, and it made them a lot more powerful. So you could actually then say, now craft an email based off of stuff that was coming in from previous steps. So people started being like, well, is that an agent? So if you can have something that triggers and it does a whole bunch of stuff, is that an agent? So um, that, maybe some people are thinking that, but I think what Joseph was just getting to is something bigger than just that. And so let's just like pull up the difference between an AI tool and an AI agent. Let's like look at this um, and see how we feel about this. A lot of people are at this stage and they're talking about their prompting and they're getting stuff back. They might make documents out of it. They might sort of do a couple of steps. Maybe they make some images in there, but a lot of it is like this back and forth process. Okay, historically, especially like, if you're just working in the website. Recently, tools like ChatGPT and Claude have been making great strides in this, is trying to connect more tools so it can do a little bit more for you. And so is that becoming more agentic? But this idea of, and we're not going to get into OpenCloud just yet, but because this is still pretty linear, this is the beginnings of something linear, where, okay, so let's start like where a form is filled out, can research the company, goes to LinkedIn, and it can move through these things and end up with something and maybe send you something. Like maybe they get added to a Slack, they get added to a CRM, and you get a follow up. In my perspective, that's still like what I was just saying, a bit like the Zapier or Make, where it's still like a linear flow of steps. Okay. And it's pre-programmed. And in a way, it's a little bit brittle because if any of those steps break, there's only so much creativity and problem solving the AI can help you with. It's like, well, you connected me to Zapier, you connected me to, Trello, you asked me to do something with OpenAI, you connected me to, Google Workspace. Oh, Google Workspace broke. Oh, I wasn't able to call this AI and I'm broken, right? And so that's kind of like what they call like a brittle AI, I would say, application. Something happens and you thought it was really great, but it breaks. And there's tools, not least of all Trusted Router, which I'm sure will come up. This is one of Joseph's new products that can help if an AI breaks, if like the OpenAI is down, it can fall back and choose another model. I'm not going to get too into that, but the point being is there's ways to make your brittle automations stronger, but they're still kind of brittle. And I think what is starting to really feel like an agent and where OpenClaw comes in is the ability to kind of like not need to follow this real structured branching logic tree. You can ask it something, it can help you come up with solutions, it can try things, report back to you, and actually it becomes much more of like a conversation, but not just like in boxes, what we've been used to in the website, but this back and forth where you can then tell your agent. Mine's called Nexus. Joseph, I don't know if you have one, if you've named it, but I can say, hey, Nexus, go off and do some research for me. What is the best way of doing this sort of thing? It can suggest something, we can try it, all without ever going into Zapier or creating a workflow. And it's sort of this more flexible interaction. And so that's kind of where I start to think more the real graduation of agents to really what they can become is sort of happening. So how does that land for you, Joseph?
Yeah, do you consider it, do you think of it like an employee? You named it?
Yeah, great question. So my friend David, who you know, David Gutman, he's an awesome fellow. He teaches executives how to use OpenClaw, how to set up and use it. 'Cause it's still very complicated. And if you don't know what it is, everybody, you kind of like can set it up on your own personal machine, on your computer, on your local device, or a little dedicated device, an old computer that maybe you had at your home. Or you can go buy for, 20, 30, $50 a month, your own little mini computer in the cloud, and you install this OpenClaw, which is kind of like your agent. And so when he was talking to me, he was like, I was like, oh, I want to set up to do this thing. He's like, well, that's cool, but like, let's really focus on a business use case. What would you think about needing to hire somebody for right now? And so to answer your question, Joseph, that's a perfect way of thinking about an agent is like, what's a problem that you're having right now that you can clearly explain to somebody as if you were hiring them, and if you can do that clearly and do some back and forth with them, like you're training effectively an agent, then not to say you couldn't have one for your home. And that's my next experiment is using another platform called Hermes. It's kind of like a simpler OpenClaw, apparently, to make a home agent. But I didn't start with that. I started with an agent that helps me with a specific workflow for my work. Because if I can prove that and share that with my team and maybe even begin to think about creating them agents, and everyone's terrified of this, by the way, right now, except those that are just creative and starting to explore and a little more techy, that's going to be the thing that wins people over when they can see something like, wow, actually, I chatted with my agent, my OpenClaw earlier. They call them lobsters. I chatted with my lobster earlier, and I asked it to do this thing. It was super boring. I was meaning to find someone on Fiverr to do this. We got no budget for it right now. I don't have time. But wow, I just chatted with my lobster, and now it's giving me a report every morning. So it's a lot to begin to build that trust. And I think we'll get into it at some point during these talks about how to actually set these things up with proper guardrails. Because if you've been following this, people give things permissions way too quickly. And then things happen and they're like, holy shit, it deleted this or it did something. And it's like there's guardrails, there's proper ways to set these things up. They're not really user friendly. So we're still talking people who are a little more technical to play with this, or maybe some onboarding tools that give you a little bit more of a restricted agent. And that's what some of the things, like these Claude and things like that. They're less powerful, some of these tools, but they're less likely to break or less likely to mess your stuff up. So for a lot of people, there's good reasons to start playing at that level before getting to something like OpenClaw. I think that's going to start to be what wins people over as the security's better, as the onboarding's better, as it's easier to use, and as these use cases pop up that actually save us time and blow our minds. People will start taking notice and they'll be like, hey, this is worth an hour of my time to really try to learn this. If I can learn this in an hour, it's going to save me an hour per week, eventually an hour per day. Isn't that worth spending a little homework on?
Yeah, I tried playing around with OpenClaw and Hermes, and I found them both to be a bit of a pain to didn't really go all of it.
Yeah.
Uh, ROI
Yeah.
already.
I mean, it's not user friendly. David did his best job setting me up on a 3-hour session, which was fun, and a
Or
lot of
yeah.
it was strategic. But it then required me if, and I really wanted to give it some superpowers, and I'm a little more technical, so I didn't. I could have probably just right out of the box begun to do some basic things with what he set me up on, but I wanted to do some crazy things, and I got some other stuff. So I made it more complicated for myself. Effectively, I put a bunch of time into setting it up, but now I'm super excited about it. I talked to it on Discord because it's a little bit more powerful than Telegram, which is easier to set up. So again, there's easier ways to do all this. There's onboarding tools that get you built onto like a vanilla version of OpenClaw with a few clicks. Maybe you pay a little premium subscription for rather than running on your own box for free. But effectively, there's some tools that make it easier. But after now a week of playing with it, I now have Nexus, it's my parent, my master agent, and I have two sub agents. One's called Marky Mark, which is my marketing assistant, and one's called Cody, who's my coding assistant. And they're both sub agents of Nexus. So I talk to Nexus as my right hand man. And then I say, hey, can you set Cody on a job? And so I've now just tested. This was literally in the last 2 days. I finally got this set up. I'm so fresh at this. So even I am just beginning to think about what I could ask this setup, what I can do with it, right? Like, and what, and I'm not going to even talk about with my team yet about setting things up for them. I'm just beginning to experiment for myself. And so my first couple of things was first, before I even thought about a sub agent, I got Nexus, I set Nexus a task to every morning go look at 30 websites that my business runs and check that they're all online. And if any's not online, send me a quick SMS or a quick Discord message. Hey, company A is down. Go check it out. And I have a spreadsheet. I can go look at it anytime, and it shows when it was last checked. And no doubt there might be a little glitch that happens at some point, but then I'll be like, hey, Nexus, that actually did go down and you didn't see it. And Nexus can be like, oh, that was a way that I needed to look at in a different way. But effectively, guys, what's so exciting about this is these agents can even look, they can even open up a virtual browser inside their brain, inside their world, and click on things. And that's what we'll get into, I'm sure, opens up some powerful potential for tools that don't even let you access them in typical ways through Zapier. You can actually click on things in time, and that you got to start to build that trust. I'm not doing that just yet. For now, I'm just with Nexus. The 3 applications I'm using are: one, check 30 websites every morning and send me a message if any's broken. Otherwise, don't message me. 2, Marky Mark is now exploring. I have an app called Team Central, which is a cool little AI-powered app for teams. And every day, and I'm beginning to think about how could Marky Mark be my marketing assistant for Team Central. If I could just give Marky Mark a little bit of work and I produce a few sales from this thing, wouldn't that be nice? Every morning, Marky Mark goes off and explores Reddit and LinkedIn for people talking about the pain points that my tool solves. Delivers me a report. Right now, I'm not doing anything. It's just delivering
In,
me a report. Be like,
in
hey,
a,
here's the people talking about the pain points. It's just seeing how like reliable it is. Like, and then it also drafts a little message that I can then go to that link and then respond, maybe edit it a little bit, offer some value and some help, link back to my product in a sort of, kind of charming way. Is that going to be helpful? And then Cody, my literally while I was walking yesterday, I programmed Cody. I said to Nexus, hey, I want to create a new sub agent effectively for you called Cody, my developer skill set. I'm not a developer, but I need that skill in my disposal because I don't know fully how to check Team Central every time I launch a feature if it's perfectly secure. But I want Cody to be able to check that. And so last night while I was watching a movie, I set Cody on a full audit of my code base. And then, hey, what's up, Eli? That's cool. You're the first one to pop up on our screen. So I set while I was watching a true crime documentary last night. Cody went off and did an audit of my app and then reported to me this morning. It was done by the night, but I didn't want to do any more work last night. So I just came in and there was an email in my inbox with 2 things: medium security, no big deal, but like, hey, you should tighten this up. So all that to say, that's where I think that's starting for me of my entire last few years of AI work. This is now finally feeling to me the beginnings of what a real agentic AI is. And that's just for me. And we can get more macro. But now I feel like I've got this one master agent orchestrator and a couple of little sub agents that basically it oversees and it sends off on things. And everybody reports back to me in whatever cadence I want. And if I have an idea, I can now talk to it, be like, how would we do this? And it can be like, hey, there's even a little plugin I can go create that's free. Here's an MVP for the thing you just asked. Mind blowing.
so Marky Mark is searching on Chrome through Reddit and LinkedIn.
I believe, and this is where it gets funny, is like I don't see what it's doing necessarily. I'm actually kind of curious how often it's using what's called browser mode, or it's called computer use
Browser,
or
browser use.
browser use. Thanks. I don't know how often it's pulling up browser use and how often it's just doing fire crawl. I think I've armed it with a
Mm.
couple of, because I'm more technical, I've armed it with a couple of my old favorite tools. Because again, like you can keep this very vanilla. I gave Nexus its own Google Workspace account. I only share specific folders with it. It can only email me from its own account. So I put a lot of guardrails on it. I didn't just give it access to my entire Google Workspace. I also gave it a few extra tools, like access to a couple of my coding repositories. That sounds technical, don't worry about it. I also gave it access to a few of the tools I would use all the time for my low code tools like Zapier or make.com. So now I can use things like it can send me a text message with something called Twilio. Set it up a year ago. Now I added it to my OpenClaw, to Nexus. Firecrawl, it can very efficiently crawl web pages. Appify, Appify is one of the marketplaces for scraping tools. Anything you want scraped, there's what Appify calls an actor, and it can go out there and scrape LinkedIn or Reddit or whatever. And so what happens is this is giving Nexus, my OpenClaw, superpowers that it can go and use those tools. So I know those tools well enough. Like it might be able to do a bunch of this for free. It might be able to do a bunch of this by doing browser use. One thing to know is that the more things you do with browser use or really require heavy AI usage, like browser use, I think it requires quite a lot of AI tokens. You can burn through a lot of tokens. And this brings up I feel like I'm talking so much, so hopefully this is helpful, but I've been really in this recently. There's a few tools for saving money with this stuff, not least of all hosting it yourself. If you have to pay for a virtual VPS, then pay a little bit for that. There's the benefits, pros and cons. Like your VPS is always on, your machine in your house has to be on all the time, but it's free. So there's pros and cons. But effectively, there's the AI usage too. And so Anthropic has limited their usage. I have two $100 subscriptions. One's for Claude and one's for ChatGPT. Claude has limited the amount you can use for your AI agents like OpenClaw. They give you a little bit, but they cut you off relatively quickly. Codex, which is OpenAI's $100 plan, I don't even know if I've run in. I've done quite a lot with OpenClaw, and I don't even know if I've run into it, the limit of my $100 plan yet. All that said, if you didn't use one of those subscriptions, you would need to use paid tokens. And I think, Joseph, you could probably talk a little bit more about this and how to be smart with tokens. But one thing I know is that if you're irresponsible with how you use tokens on your OpenClaw, you can run through those very quickly if it's a subscription, and you can build up costs very quickly if you're not being strategic. And so using things like browser use, I imagine uses more tokens. Using things like those little tools that I said, like Appify, and it using Appify's sort of like very simple tech, or using Firecrawl's very simple terminal commands or CLI or even API or MCP, whatever ways you connect, and there's benefits and pros and cons to all of those, you can reduce your token usage. And that's going to be increasingly important as costs rise, as maybe ChatGPT is going to lock down and only give you a certain amount. All at the same time, our need for these agents as individuals, as families, in our workplace is going to grow. So how we save those tokens, I think that's a good place to hand it off to Joseph. But to answer your question, I don't know actually how much it's using browser use, but I do know that I probably want it to use browser use as little as possible if I can get it to use code-based techniques.
So I removed a branch from my Starlink, so now it should have a clear view of the stars. So I think it's
You removed a physical branch.
yeah. So I've found I found it a bit difficult as well to use up my full Max subscriptions, but this week I finally got to use that because I haven't got an OpenClaw or Hermes set up as an agent, but I have been using basically loops. I put Claude or Codex on a loop, and Claude kind of gives up a lot, but then Codex I have like a bigger that tends to go for longer stretches of time. Although Claude just released Fable 5, and I think that also goes for longer probably. But anyway, so on Codex, I finally figured out how to use it up in like a day. I have a whole max $200 a month subscription, and I figured out how to. I used my last one, so I bought another Codex subscription, and I'm burned through that almost entirely in a day. And it's because I'm running one, two, three, four, five, six long running tasks at once, agents, I guess. And the thing that it's doing right now is I'm cloning Mac OS. I'm basically taking like all of the software and all the Swift apps that run on Mac OS, and then building the Swift UI libraries or any other libraries that are missing on Linux to be able to run them on Linux. And in practice, it's just basically uh, re-implementing all of Mac OS in a clean room way. And that is going to be millions of lines of code. And we're part of the way there. And I think I have descriptions to do that for a while. We'll see how much Fable 5 will help with that. I've also heard of good things of people having one codex agent going. That's their master one. That's like your uh nexus. And then that nexus will like fork or create new uh local or work trees in codex that are new agents, and then that
Yeah.
those agents can follow up with.
Yeah.
I'm
So
asked, yeah, I've
it's
been,
like,
but like now
mhm.
I'm trying to do whatever. Like I don't want to like, because I'm the slowest. If I have to read every line that it writes, or even some of the lines, or even 1% of the lines, then I'm slowing it down.
Well,
If I
that's why
only
they
have to
have auto mode now, which is like really nice. It only
uh,
stops you if
uh,
it thinks there's really something that it needs you to do. And I think people love it. I mean, I
I-
increasingly trust for sure. And I think it brings up an interesting point, the way you were just describing
how
working.
much
So
how much do you
you're a power user and you're using this for coding. I'm a low code guy working through Discord, and I do coding through, using Claude Code. I use an IDE, I use anti-gravity. I don't usually work in terminal. I'm more comfortable in an IDE, as like a lot of our low coders or vibe coders are. We're not used to that old developer style. But you come from this, and so it's really interesting. Your mindset and the way you work is it's like giving you superpowers. And so I know plenty of developers, they still work in terminal. They have plenty of those open. They're they're working agentically in a way that's different than a lot of people may end up working agentically. Maybe some, and this is the beauty of it. There's so many, it's like meet you where you're at. Some might want to work in a slew of terminal windows. Others might want to work through Telegram. Others might want to work just as the vanilla version of Claude, but with a few extra tools in there. Personally, I've upgraded to Discord for my OpenClaw because every conversation I start in one channel, it creates a separate thread. So the context lives in that little discussion. So in your way, I can spin up multiple little instances of Nexus. I can be doing a research project with one, or a Cody project with one, and Marky Mark project with one, while exploring something with Nexus. It's all using my open AI tokens. And again, I think I've set it up pretty efficiently. I'm sure I'll hit that $100 a month subscription. Again, it's important. You can save money on a local machine. You can certainly save money with strategic use. For example, even when I'm coding in outside, and I'm not doing tons of coding, frankly, in OpenClaw. I go back to my proper coding environment, and I just find it a little easier. I can see my folders, and maybe for some little things or checks, and maybe I'll. David says he does so much in OpenClaw. Maybe I'll graduate to more as I build the trust. But I come back to that a lot. And there's techniques that you can use to save credits. Like, for example, a couple of tricks. There's two tricks I want to share that I realized. So one, I was doing lots of these power sessions when I get to the office in the morning. I'd spend an hour or two, and then on my work stuff. But you have a 5 hour window with these subscriptions. Once you get started, you have 5 hours to work within. Uh, and if you reach your tokens in an hour, you can't work again until 5 hours later, or whatever. So sometimes I'll want like 2 or 3 power sessions. Then I don't want to work on any more vibe coding that day. I just want to do it in the morning and then get to my other things I need to do. So one just little trick is I set a little automation to start a conversation with Claude at like 6 in the morning. And that way, when I come to the office at 9, I have a couple of hours of that window left to power session. And then at like 11, it opens up my 5 hours again. And then I power through maybe until
That,
noon. Yeah. And so that was
yeah,
a way for
it's
me.
like a window, but it's set. That's genius.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was like for me when I was really hammering through these big coding projects, which I'm doing a little less of right now. That was a way for me to get 2 concurrent power sessions together. The other way to save these
That's
tokens is,
brilliant.
or not concurrent, 2 consecutive power sessions together. That was my trick. And
That is
it was so satisfying to
so
do an hour of crazy work to almost reach the limit, or to hit the limit and be like, it'll reset in 30 minutes. And you're like, yeah, or it's great. I'm in the mode. But the other way to do it, and even maybe not to even get there, is smart usage of the tokens, and know when to use these things like thinking, and know when to use Opus, and know when to use Sonnet. And so again, I'm not a developer, but over time I started to get better at being like, first of all, the better I can work. Okay, I've now made a few vibe coding things, and it's like a lot of people are doing vibe coding things, be like, this thing that built sucks. And it's like, well, why does it suck? Well, one, you're not a developer. Two, you're not an entrepreneur. Three, you're not a product designer, UI designer, like, and you're wondering why this AI thing that you made sucks. So even if you're one of those roles, a developer needs to up their skills with their entrepreneurial question asking, who they're building things for, and what problems it solves. If you're an entrepreneur, you need to up your development skills. If you're a product designer, you need to up the other two. Like, everyone's like got their weaknesses. AI can help you, but you need to have it, ask it how it can help you. And oftentimes before we even touch a line of development code, we do a lot of work before. And that's, what is the problem? Who is it for? How should it be built? How should it, like, look? All right, now let's start to get together. Just like if you were going to go to a development team, you wouldn't just give them an idea, you would bring them something. And so why I bring that back, and why I bring that back to tokens, or bring that up and bringing it back to tokens, is the more work you can do before to get that first plan, PRD, product requirements document, in place, the more efficient the build is going to be, the better the output's going to be. And so nowadays, when I have a feature that's for Team Central or something like that, it used to be a back and forth over a weekend for one feature and fixing things. And I'm realizing I fucked up, sorry, I messed up. Now it's like, spend a half an hour or an hour planning a feature before anything's even
But
coded.
how do you plan it? Do you ask it to grill you? Because that's the new technique. Like you say, grill.
Yeah. Like, hey, I've got this idea. I want to brainstorm it with you. There's some cool little skills that I got this one great skills container called superpowers that this amazing person coded. That's like the full development stack. It can help from brainstorming to planning to coding. So it automatically even knows it needs to activate superpowers now and be like, hey, you're in brainstorm mode. Let's do this. Back and forth. And then I'll be like, is that a good idea? Because some of the things that we're telling AI to do actually are bad old human ways of doing things. And AI will do it, but sometimes if you ask the AI, hey, is this actually a good way of doing it? It might be like, hey, that's an interesting way, but maybe have you ever thought of doing it this way? And so coming to AI with humility and be like, hey, here's the way I was thinking of doing it. What do you think about that? And this is how all my interactions start these days. What do you think? And it's like, hey, some back and forth, be like, hey, cool. So any of the features or things we haven't thought of, or, obstacles we might hit, nice. How would this even fit into the existing data, like the way I plan this out? And then finally, it'll be like, great, I got a clear idea of what you want. This has been super helpful brainstorm. Let me build out a planning document. It's not even coding yet. Detailed ass planning document. I'll use the best model for all of this so far. Planning document. Now it's got such a good planning document that I could, if I want to save tokens, turn on the Sonnet, because the planning document's so good. It even has full-on coding chunks and descriptions of what it needs to do. I can hand it to a little bit of a lower token usage thing, because it just needs to follow the amazing instructions that the smart one made. And that's another way to save some tokens, I think.
Well, I think you could end up with a suboptimal architecture that you end up digging a hole into that's hard to change and things like that. I actually
By doing it that way.
I try to use the smartest model that's available, period, and max it, and I will just buy a bigger subscription if you run out. Buy a
Oh, so
second.
you're cloning Mac OS. A lot of people are building like a form that like triggers, a little something. Maybe for different use cases, the different thinking levels are.
Although again, the smart model, it will you'll tell it, oh, just make it blue, and then it'll think, oh, is that like it'll wash out with this other background, or maybe you should be doing dark mode, and it will really, really just think of things you would never have thought of. And if you hold back and you think, oh, I know exactly what I want, like you're gonna miss out on it being smarter, and that's
That's
part of
true. That's true. And I
I
mean, a lot of people, like, there's the opportunity too to maybe, especially as these things, and you're going to talk about mythos, and we should probably like get into any other things. I got one more slide, and then we're going to talk about some news, which could be a fun way to wrap up. But like, the idea that like at a certain point, all these things we're building, we're going to be able to get the future models to look at and be like, hey, could you just rebuild this like from scratch so it's better? You know?
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, yeah. So maybe you do Sonic because you'll just rebuild it later with a better model.
Maybe we're just building MVPs. Like all of this is like, and they're all prototypes for the next thing that will be better.
Yeah, I care about the code we're writing now. Claude 6 is gonna be amazing. Like, why even care?
Yeah.
So I think you're right also that the way we're building stuff now, I think we're using some of the patterns we have from humans, like GitHub tickets or linear or like and then make a PRD and then do this. And I am already finding that the way I'm building things is very different than with humans. For example, like if you ask Claude itself, you'll say, "Oh, can you implement this?" And it'll say, "Well, that's going to take weeks to do. So you should just do that." And I'm like, "No, no, no. When you have an infinite computer that can do everything perfectly the first time, like this thing that supposedly takes 3 weeks, you can do in 2 hours. It's totally different, right?" And so, for example, I'm building a an app that teaches my kids to read, and I have these ideas from this other app, right? So like, I'm getting inspired by this app, right? And so I tell something, and the first thing it builds is awful, and then we kind of like iterate. But now we've got something okay, right? And then I realize, I've got kind of this very simple clone of this other app to learn English. And then I realized, wait, with AI, now I could build this for every language almost instantly in Greek and Spanish and Portuguese and French. And then I'd say, "Oh, can you do it?" And then it's like, "Okay, yeah, yeah, we know the International Phonetic Alphabet." And actually, in Portuguese and Brazil, it's slightly different. They say je, and then in Portuguese in Europe, they say ja. And like literally, this smartest model knows everything about every language, and it just like makes the perfect curriculum in every language.
I mean, that's what's getting exciting. Like, meet us where we're at to learn whatever we want, however we need to be taught. I mean, as adults, definitely for our kids. I mean, and these sort of archaic institutions that are clinging on to these old ways of doing things when we have these technologies that can custom tailor education for every kid's specific psychology. I mean, and the way they like learning about things. Don't even get me started on some of this old paradigm, ridiculous
Yeah,
education
I'm
stuff.
not even doing that. Like, I think the smarter thing would be to leapfrog it. And actually, you're right, say have an AI teach the kid one by one. But I'm not even doing that. I'm copying this old school software that it's very repetitive. And I think actually teaching to read is very repetitive. So I don't know if you
That's true.
benefit that. But I'm saying the way that I'm building it is very different because this app, and it's not even old school. This app was developed in the last 2 years to teach kids to read. But the way they built it is purely English. They charge $500 a month, and it works, but it's like they're not thinking about doing this in other languages. They're not even close to that.
And
And
like the kids that need it,
they're-
like, there's plenty of kids that can't afford that, right?
yeah, kids can't afford it. It's too expensive, so that's why they're not doing anything but English. And now I'm just like, wait, like the reason they're not doing it is because they're like, oh, I have to hire a linguist. I have to like understand all the nuances of language. I have to read all the research in Russian about how kids learn to read in Russian and all this stuff. And it's like, no, actually, you could just build it in a few hours and AI will do all the research. Like I had to do deep research about all of the latest phonetics research about how kids learn, and it just analyzed all of it and I pulled it back, and I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That's why they
Right.
built the app this way.
I mean, and
And
the
it's
nice
just
thing
taught
is because you're building it, you
I
have
could
your little
just
test, you have your test
yeah, I
users.
have exactly. And the
And
AI
and then you can like be like, oh, let's tweak this little thing that's specifically for my kids, or they're showing me like, you could suggest that to the other company, and who knows if it's ever going to be made as a little upgrade feature. Whereas you can
yeah,
be like, you know what, that would be a great way to add something in, and boom, by the end of that afternoon, you got a fun new tool for your kids to learn.
funniest thing that the AI could build all this code, build animations, all this stuff. It's like a rocket. It's so cool. It, has perfect French. But you know what it can't do? It can't make letter sounds. And I literally spent 4 days typing like try this, be more creative, ask Codex, ask Gemini, and it was like, cannot make like a sound or a
Hmm.
because it doesn't exist. No one, it doesn't exist anywhere on the internet. All the text to speech only uses those letters for a very short interval, which isn't good, isn't useful. It'd just be like "leh, leh," instead of "leh." And so after 4 days, I was just like, screw it. Just make a little website. I'll record my own voice saying that while I have a cold. I'll just do it. I did it for English. I did it for all the other languages I know, and that was easier than spending four days and then failing at the end. I didn't get anything good at the end. I had to just do it
Hmm.
myself,
And so
and it,
for you, like when you're, how
and
do
it
you
couldn't even
see?
tell that the sound was like for me. This is this v is not a v. It's a
Right.
ah. It couldn't tell, and Claude can't listen to music, but Gemini and Codex can hear audio, and they couldn't tell either. They're just
That's weird.
all like have no perception, not even like us, but like it just doesn't. It can't really know what we want or feel, and that's
Interesting.
it can do everything else perfectly.
Right. I mean, and
Day
that
is
sort of brings me back to like a big comment of like where we're going is like, my mom's always like, oh, it's got no emotion. And I'm like, well, for a lot of its tasks, it doesn't need emotion. Like that's what humans are, we're meant to bring our magic into the world, our creativity, what things that make us uniquely us, and not be like bogged down by the rote, monotonous, tedious things in our job, in our day to day. And it's not just that. It's not just like limiting. It's not just like streamlining stuff that we already do. It's enabling us to do things that we have never even been able to do or never would have had the time or inclination to do before. And just like you're saying, you've got this great idea how you can like teach the kids, and you've got some cool ideas for upgrades. There's going to be releases, which maybe is a good segue to like, we got 10 minutes or so left, but maybe to touch on some of the things to look at, the news. And by the way, I put everybody the WhatsApp in the chat. If you want to stay connected, we'll be doing it weekly. But like why I brought that up is because some of the problems that we're having right now, like even what you were just talking about, it's only a model or two away until the piece that, and this is why it's so important to stay on top of this stuff, because a lot of people are still talking about six fingers and images, or hallucinations, that like, yeah, there's still problems, but they're getting solved so quickly. And the speed at which things are, like even the erdos mathematical problem that was recently solved is giant. Like mathematicians actually give some props, be like, that was really elegant and creative, like the when AI beat the world champion at Go, and the guy was like, man, it came up with a move that never have seen before, never would have thought about. Like, so there's no need to like discredit. And also, if you're still judging today off of yesterday's news, that is just a recipe for stagnation in my perspective. So stay curious. Also, don't get overwhelmed. I think with a lot of this coming back, Joseph and I are talking at a kind of high level, him from a technical perspective, me with his OpenClaw stuff that I've been experimenting with. Not it's not There's going to be people plenty more advanced than us, but point being that like it doesn't matter where you're at, just like let your curiosity guide you and be like, hey, I've got this thing that I would love to be streamlined. Knowing that increasingly the things that bug you, that bog you down, are going to be able to be taken off your plate so that you can be your unique human creator, creative self, hopefully, and free up time for yourself to spend more time with your family or on your hobbies. And so I think a piece of this talk is also looking ahead to the future and like what's coming out. And I know, Joseph, you said that it was, I don't know if there's anything there that you want to finish on before we at least wrap up with a few things news wise, or things to like just like check out or keep tabs on for what's coming. We're going to be doing this every week, so we'll be refining this format. But I know you had a few ideas. You said it was a big news week. Anything you want to bring up?
Yeah, I mean, Fable 5 was just released a couple hours ago.
What's that?
That's the Claude mythos that everyone's been talking about.
It's called what? What? I didn't hear the first part. What did you call it?
Fable 5, Claude Fable 5.
Oh, it's the
Fable.
name is Fable.
Yeah. That's
Interesting.
the down version that doesn't let you do bio or cyber research, cyber defense. Which is
Got
kind of
it.
love to use it for cyber defense.
Right. Well, I think that probably, they're trying to like there's a lot of concerns around these things. So if those that don't know what mythos, you're Greek. Do you pronounce it mythos or mythos?
Mythos.
Yeah, I
Mythos.
thought that's mythos. But anyways, whatever you call it, it's a very powerful tool or a very powerful model from Anthropic, and they've released it privately, just for small, groups over the last couple of months or whatever it is. And its ability to spot weaknesses in legacy code has brought up all this stuff, even for things that have been out for 10 or 20 years. It's finding errors in, and so there's a real concern over the security. And so they've been very careful to limit that access. And the other thing is also, yeah, for bio, I've been recently hearing there's a lot of concern around. Those are two big areas. So I think it does make sense for them to limit, at least, so that the right protections can be put in place.
And like I'm trying to do some basic work and I keep getting rejected.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you
Yeah.
do any code, like it's just like, oh, sorry, you might be hacking something. It's like, no.
Yeah, and I think something to think about, like as we talk about this agentic stuff, let me see if this other slide. I don't think we need to get into. I had one other slide, but I don't want to. I don't think we need to get into it. What I will put on screen is the just like our. I think we can put on this code just in case anybody wants to join it while we finish up. But is this question? This is like what I it's like the bigger macro question for me. You're playing in this world a little bit different than I'm playing in it. We're spinning around this idea of agents, what they are, how they can help us across all aspects of our lives, from personal stuff with financial advising, from family stuff, what to decide on movie night, from actually really great business applications in our day-to-day work. There's so many opportunities. There's also this jockeying right now for who's your master agent. Do we even, and I don't want to bring it up, do we even need a master agent? For me, I like the idea. So what I'm doing is this Nexus OpenClaw for me. That's for me. But I'm thinking of making an agent for my family. And that's going to be actually with the box that Joseph built for me through Quill. He's sending me as one of his testers. I'm going to make a little family agent. So there it is. It's going to be plugged right in my wall, local. I don't have a
This is a
monthly.
computer.
That's it. That's going to be my family. Is that my actual one?
Yours is number 2. This is yours.
I'm number 2. There it is. So I'm going to get that soon as an early user. And the application I'm going to use it for is my family. I guess the question for me is like this idea of the master agent, or the agent that I
Later
am
version
even
with.
smaller. Super cool.
This is
So
bigger,
yeah,
but it's got more
oh, I see
ports.
it. Like, yeah. So Joseph dropped the link to his products in the event description or the event chat, but check it out. Here's what I want to just touch on and see about what your thoughts are. Maybe leave people thinking is like, who do you want to be your master agent? And personally, I don't want it to be Anthropic. They might make it super easy. I don't want it to be Google. I don't want it to be, they make it great to access my workspace, and that might be elements of Gemini that I want to use, or elements of Claude. I actually do use elements of ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini. But in terms of my master agent, I kind of want a little bit, and this is why I'm putting work into OpenClaw and to understand it. I kind of want to own that. I don't want to be uh, reliant on a model or a ecosystem. I want to be able to tap in and pull out from Google what I need, or lean on OpenAI for what I want to lean on it for, like our awesome thumbnail here for our, OpenAI's graphics have just become amazing. I uploaded two PNGs of us with transparent backgrounds. Actually, I even got it to remove your background. Uploaded, I was like, hey, make a fun thumbnail for us. It's just getting so good. Again, if people thought the spelling wasn't good or isn't good, look at what it's like now. Anyway, all that to say is, like, that's a piece that I'm really circling around. Is like, who owns your master agent? And I personally want to own it. And I think the tool you're building, and like what I'm doing in the cloud with my OpenClaw, like, I have control over that. And there's an element that I think is valuable there, even if it's not fully easy to do just yet. And I want to get your thoughts on that.
I think it's important for people to have personal AI. AI is the most intimate technology we've ever made. People really connect with it and trust it. I think that people need to have something local that's processing it. I think that there's a lot of movement now happening toward that. NVIDIA last week announced the RTX, NVIDIA RTX and Spark, and that means that they're providing unified memory and a whole chip that can run in a laptop. It's basically their answer to Mac Mini and Mac Studio. A lot of people are buying Mac Minis and Mac Studios to run models there. Based on some calculations, I think the human brain has only 80 billion neurons. The neocortex that has the reasoning is only 16 billion neurons. So maybe we don't need more than like a gamma 4 be model to actually have pretty good reasoning. And that can run on a machine like a Mac Mini or a
Mm-hmm.
Mac Studio. And so
Yeah,
maybe that's
I mean, I think these local models are going to become increasingly more efficient and smart. At the same time, the local machines is like, yeah, RAM's expensive right now, but in time, all these costs are going to come down. So our local power will increase. So our ability to keep things on our machine, both for trust and speed and cost, those are all really big factors. And then maybe we need to go out, and if we do need like Mythos technology, we can then tap out and access that on demand if needs be, pay that little bit of extra token if we need a very specific application for a finely trained model for a specific use case. But again, coming back to, like, I don't want Google telling me which ones I have to use, like, or like, there's a lot of, and all those things good, they're really beneficial, like from an ease of use standpoint. And maybe I just like customization, but I do believe that it's important to own our AI, personal AI, and control our data, as best we can in this world. Knowing what the limitations are, what we're willing to accept. I know something that's important for you is security. Like, it's a huge deal for my company is that, like, there's all these people signing up for all these tools, connecting their Google Workspace to, like, who the heck knows what. Like, the danger, the multiple surfaces now that are like at risk from these often not even well coded AI tools. Like, there's a lot of risk there, and so something we'll definitely be exploring, I think, in the future. I'd love to. I know it's now 3 Eastern, so I want to respect your time and everyone who's watching, but is there anything that I put the WhatsApp group up here? I'd love to hear back from people what they'd like to hear more about in the future on these calls, and I'd love to hear if there's anything that you want to, like, wrap up. I think there's a few points that we touched on in terms of security and privacy, cost, the importance of these AI, how to use it effectively. Um, a lot we covered on in an hour. Sorry about, like, some of the tech stuff at the beginning, but it's our first time doing this, so appreciate everybody's patience. But
yeah. I think it just comes
anything
down
you
to
want to wrap up on?
how much you trust it. Like I've used it after just a few weeks. I started to trust Claude stuff a lot, to be honest. Like it just
Yeah.
works. Like people talk about RMRFing and destroying all your backups, but I haven't felt like it's ever going to do that. I feel like they've done a great
Yeah.
job. I didn't get trust a
Yeah.
million ways often.
Look, I mean, the guy who invented OpenClaw was like, if you don't, this was a couple months ago now, but he's like, if you don't know, if you're not comfortable in a terminal, then you probably shouldn't be playing with OpenClaw. And the reality is, he was definitely right back then. Now I think the newer upgrades is a lot. When I installed mine, it was a lot more secure in the way it was interacting with me and warning me than I was thinking it was going to be. So they've tried to put on more of these things. He says he would love to do, by the way, I thought this, you would think this is interesting because I know we've been talking about this kind of an idea of a little bit more of a smoother onboarding. He said, which I thought was interesting, I heard him talking on the Lex Friedman podcast. So admittedly, it was a little while ago, but still, he's like, I want to keep it a little hard for people right now because I don't want to make a super easy onboarding step. It's so powerful that maybe let the
Yeah,
people who are comfortable right now work out some of the kinks,
yeah.
and then we can build nice
It
interfaces for
reduces
onboarding,
the,
which is interesting, you know?
yeah. It also avoids the spamming of websites and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll say like the things that I've done just to like wrap it up from my OpenClaw side is like make it its own Google workspace. It can only interact with, it can only play around with the files that I share it with. It has some guidelines about like not doing any things that can't be undone, like hard deletes without really running things by me. Definitely no outreach to anybody except me on my emails. Um, some things like that that are just best practices. So very limited access while we build trust. But again, I'm not doing stuff like a lawyer with financial with client attorney privilege stuff. I'm not working with accounting, financial client documents. I'm doing like marketing. I'm doing like relatively low stakes. I don't have crazy. I haven't connected it to my whole work ecosystem yet. It's like relatively low stakes, and I think that that's a good um, way to get started. Little tasks. Some people are like, "Oh, build this crazy thing." It's like, what? That's incredibly complicated. Why don't you just get it to do one simple thing for you? See if you can save 10 minutes a day or whatever. And that's just a great place. Let your curiosity guide you, right?
Yeah. And if you want your own encrypted models, trustedrouter.com is a way to be sure that everything is secure.
Yeah, I will give the thumbs up for trusted routers. So this is one of Joseph's. He's a man of many products and ideas, and this is one of really a good one. So there's a tool called Open Router, which back in the day of me running my own automations agency saved the day because if an AI model was down, like OpenAI, it could fall back to like Claude, and my automations that would break once every couple of days because the model was down, especially those days. Then once a month, once maybe a couple of times a month, something happened. And so, however, they don't necessarily keep your data secure as it's transferring through their clutches or through their servers. And so, what Trusted Router solves is encryption of those pieces of the data transfer, from what I understand from you telling me, Joseph. And that's a huge value. Is there any other? Am I right in that? Is there any other things I'm missing about Trusted Router?
Yeah, definitely. Fast. We have the latest Mimo model, which is 1,000 tokens per second. We have the latest Fable 5 already available.
Wow.
And yeah, it's just so super easy to use. Super easy for your agent to use.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, listen, my final takeaway, and
Right.
I'll let Joseph give his final thoughts as we close up, is just to like, we talked about a lot of stuff and some of it more complicated, some of it more macro level, but really just takeaways for this, I feel, is no matter where you're at, try something a little bit to push an edge in some way. If you're just chatting with ChatGPT, think about asking it how you could do better at something. Or if you're already been feeling good about your prompting, add a connector maybe, or create a custom GPT, or start working in a project. If you're already working a project, maybe now time to graduate to a Claude Cowork. We haven't even talked about it. I use it all the time, but it's working in a local folder. And if you're already playing with Claude Cowork, maybe it's time to start thinking about what it would mean to upgrade to Claude Code. You know what, these things, if you're in Claude Code, maybe it's time to graduate to OpenClaw. The idea being is like push a little bit where you're at and let your curiosity guide you. you don't have to get a manual for this technology. You can actually ask it, hey, could you help me with this thing? Like, and just start with something that's fun and playful and curious, and just sort of let that guide your interest, and it's going to be amazing where you can go. So that's my final closing thought. Joseph, what do you got to say?
Figure out how you can test it to see if you can trust it. So say, oh, can you like do this thing for me end to end, right? It's lower stakes. Well, then if it does, now, oh, you can trust it more to do a bigger thing. Oh, maybe like drop this old database or remove these files. And like, did it do it? Did it double check? What did it do? Oh, maybe I'll trust it to do even more without me having to do check
Mm.
everything. And again, 4 months ago it was pretty bad at a lot of this stuff, but now I think it's really good. Yeah.
I agree. I mean, that's part of why, like, staying curious, because this stuff is moving so fast. And honestly, like, if feel like it's moving too fast, just like chill out. Be like, hey, what do I need help solving? Like, none of us need to know or could know all that's happening in the world of AI. It's crazy, but we all have problems that we could have solved. So let the curiosity guide you. Make sure that you build that trust piece by piece. I think those are a couple of really valuable things. Thanks everybody so much for joining. Thanks Joseph for really sparking this. I think we're going to be having more fun conversations. We'll work on our presentation. We'll maybe get some guests on in the future. Super open to hearing what people want to hear about. Hop on to our WhatsApp. Let us know what you'd like to us help exploring. And thanks again everybody for joining.
I'm in the WhatsApp right now.
All right, awesome.
Uh,
That's how new the WhatsApp is. Bye
yeah.
y'all.